Just when you thought you could enjoy your retirement, Sherry, I've dragged you off your couch and brought you into Ryerson University to talk some hockey. I'm your host, Jesse Pollock, along with Sherwood Bassin. He's a Memorial Cup champion and a World Junior Gold medalist. Sherry, it's great to have you.
Hey, it's good to be here, by the way. I'm glad you had a good idea there, and then let's quit the pitter-patter. Let's get at her.
Let's get down to business.
All right.
So you've had an opportunity to watch the local team, the Toronto Maple Leafs. This team has been fantastic. They hold a playoff spot as it is right now. They're also one of the youngest teams in the NHL, Sherry. What has contributed to their success this season?
Well, it starts way before the players, even though some of the players were drafted by then. It's really a credit to Brendan Shanahan when he came in as president. No ego here. No, I'm the king here. The people he surrounded himself with to build a structure and do it their way. And that's what's really the key here that people haven't talked enough about. I mean, they refer to it. First thing he did is hire Lou Lamoriello, who I'm a friend of. Not we were kissing cousins. I knew Lou when he was back in Providence, when his assistant coaches used to come and scout my junior B team and so forth for scholarships. And he's a special guy, and he's got a certain way of doing things, and and he's experienced at it. He knows it works because he's won with it. And you got a bad word to say about Lou Lamoriello, you better talk to me because I'm taking you on.
I don't think I could take you, Sherry.
No.
I think you'd beat the crap out of me.
And so the thing is this, is that, and think about these other guys too. Think about what we're talking about here. I mean, and Shanahan had the courage and no ego to make sure he brought in top people. And you hardly hear from him. You can be sure he's involved in decision-making and listening and giving his part. Well, 3 Stanley Cups, okay, Hockey Hall of Fame. I'd like to think that. But Lou's got a way, and it's his way. And they should be. This is what they've needed in a long time. Somebody like this. And nobody's going to outwork Lou Lamoriello. He's not going to ask his people to work any harder than he works. He's a 12, 14-hour-a-day guy. Make no mistake about it. I've known him for years. He's a very respectful guy. Believes you want respect, show respect. We're starting to talk a little bit about Belichick's way, like pattering after that. Then you bring in, Mark Hunter I've known for years. It's a great story about Mark Hunter, about his valuation of talent, okay? Brad Boyes, Ontario Hockey League Player of the Year 2 years, Academic Player of the Year in Canada. You got to know something. So when Erie Otters, Frank J. drafted him. Frank J.'s, Roger Nielsen said, one of the best judge of talents he's ever met. Okay? This guy has built a lot of championship teams in junior and helped. So anyway, it's a great story. Mark Hunter was the coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs farm team in St. John's, Newfoundland. And he came back towards the end of the year. There was only one Ontario tournament left for all the teams played for the Ontario Championship. I think it was in Thunder Bay. And he took over Sarnia, coach and general manager. And he goes to that one weekend tournament. And we thought Brad Boyes was under the radar. We believed he was under the radar. Central Scouting had him in the 13th round. They used to come out by rounds and stuff in those days. And Frank J. just loved Brad Boyes. And, you start thinking, even though prematurely, maybe we can get him a little later, because it's not who you pick in the draft, where you get him. Like Brown, 6th round. We got him in the 13th round in junior. But that's another story. Okay? And so Hunter comes to me after the tournament. We're at some meeting or something. He says, I can't understand it, Sherry. I'm this first time back. I'm at this last tournament of the year. This Brad Boyes was the best player in the tournament, and we don't even have him on our list. And Central, what's going on? I almost, my blood pressure went up like 700. I'm thinking, we think we're under the radar with this guy. I mean, Hunter picked that out in 2 days. And I'm thinking, my God, I can't believe what he's saying and so forth. And he picked that out. And so we stepped up and took Brad Boyes in the first round, which we were going to anyway. As it turned out, somebody else liked him. But my point is about Hunter. Hunter's got a phenomenal work ethic. Phenomenal. And all the scouts work hard. Scouts were everywhere work hard. Let's not underestimate. But nobody will outwork him. And he's got a passion, and he's got a passion for winning. Lou Lamoriello. It's all about winning. And listen to him talk and preparing these guys about winning. Okay? Again, I go back to refer about New England Patriots. It's all about winning. Now, we got these people. Kyle Dubas, I've known since he was a youngster. I recommended him in the Sioux and so forth, who's in charge of their American League team. And they got some players there they're developing.
Brendan Leipzig.
There's a number of
Winnipeg
guys
Native.
there. There's a number of guys there. Okay? And the situation. So think about this. Now we go to the coaching staff. Do you know the head coach? Have you ever met the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs? Hey?
He's come a long way, Sheriff.
He's come more than a long ways. Okay? You know, this guy's coaching in every area you can think.
The guy's got socks named after him. I could use a pair of Babs socks right now.
Wow. I don't need his socks because I don't wear socks. So
You don't say.
I didn't know that he had socks named after. But I'm talking about his preparation as a coach, where he's come from. You know, Babcock, you know, and think about the staff that they put together and so forth. It's all about winning and teaching. It's teaching and learning. Not just, it's like that coach in Erie, Knobloch. It's not a teller and a yeller. It's teaching and learning. And Babcock, you know what I mean? He graduated from McGill. He went back and coached, was it a junior college? He coached.
Well, he led Lethbridge in the CIS to a national championship.
There you are. Coached junior hockey, coached in the American League. He coached, you know.
Coached the Mighty Ducks. Almost won a Stanley Cup with them.
No, but we could go. Was Cincinnati in the American League then, or?
Yes.
Okay. So, like every experience, and he's got a trap door. I know him. I've spent time with him. I don't know, you know, it's been a long time and so forth, but I've sat for a period with him, beside him, and he's always dissecting. I like a lot of his assistant coaches and that staff he's put together there. You know what I mean? And so I know Smitty personally. He used to coach Joshua Generals. Hell of a coach. Oh, except coach Smitty coached the Ontario All-Star Junior team against that traveling Russian team. And McDavid and Brown didn't get off the bench hardly. They had slivers from sliding up and down the bench. I don't want him to forget that.
Well, it's
but
great.
Smitty's a heck of a coach, though.
Sherry, it's great to see that so often you see teams, whether it's in the World Juniors or the NHL, they're so afraid to just give the young guys a chance. But the Leafs aren't stubborn. They're not stubborn. They're giving these young guys the keys, and they're letting them build together. And they're dominating. They say, we don't care how young these guys are. The talent is coming to the surface. They're winning games for us. Why not?
But they found that out by giving them a chance. This is what we got. We're going to go with the young people. And right now, they're on a little bit of a hiatus here, because whatever they do is a bonus, okay? And they know that. But you listen to Babcock about winning, learning to win. You know, when I talk about, here's the issue, and what's coming up now with these young guys is that they believe they can win. They're starting to believe which is a key factor when you develop a team. When you got a team on the cusp, and that's just going to get more and more. It's the experience they get. They're starting to believe they can win. It's not hoping to win. Arizona's hoping to win. I can name a number of teams. The Leafs in the last year, they hoped they could win. And we're all the people that support them. I've had season tickets for a number of years and so forth. Now they, as a group, because of the success they've had, and from the teaching and learning and hard work and preparation, and it's the will to prepare to win, not the will to win. Everybody's got a will to win. That's what we've talked about, and we will continue talking about that in the show. But here's the thing. Now they're starting to believe they can win, which is a key factor. And talking about the players, the young players he's given a chance. Let's talk about a number of those guys. I got to meet Matt. I'm a big fan about how the quality of a person, if he's got the ability, how he becomes a star. Matthew's kid, I got to meet him the other night. I'm telling you something, he's a special kid. Never mind special abilities, he's going to be a star. There's no question about it. And you know, the fans got to recognize that immediately the first game. He scores 4 goals, okay? pretty big highlight in your first game, isn't it? And he's on the ice for the overtime goal against. And when they interview him, that's all he focused on and took full responsibility. And he's a young kid. Didn't even want to talk about his 4 goals. He's a special kid. I know the Brown kid. First of all,
let's talk about Connor Brown and Zach Hyman for 1 second, because it's so often Matthews, of course, and Marner get all the credit, but these are guys that the Leafs found and have developed them into fantastic players. Of course, Brown played for you in Erie.
I'm a big fan of Brown. I mean, this guy, you talk about the will and the prep. First of all, he's a very, very intelligent player. Very intelligent player. And
I can literally feel how intelligent he is after that.
And his angles. And look at, Babcock isn't going to play a guy. He wouldn't give him that responsibility and that kind of trust if this guy wasn't an intelligent player. He plays both. He plays the right side of the puck. He plays offensive, defense. He takes care. He's a responsible player. He's an extremely and he's intelligent. He knows where to go to get the puck. He knows how to get them. He's killing penalties. He's on the power play. He's playing 3-on-3. And let me tell you this. You're not going to get to play with Matthews unless you're a real bright player and a responsible player. And Hyman, who wasn't drafted by the Leafs, by the way, he was traded for. And listen.
My mistake.
And talk about his hard work. His hard work on the ice. He's such a credit. So, it's just, he wants to be first on the puck. And that stuff is electric for people to play with him. That's electric. And that's why when Ferreira gave these guys a C+ the end of November, if I was on my couch, I was right inside the TV. I could not believe, how do you measure what these guys are contributing? Okay? And I love Ray, don't get me wrong. He well prepared and listened to his incisive comments. But that was a convenient grade to give. That was a convenient grade. These guys are special players, and they're going to get nothing but better because they're committed. They work hard about it. And C+. What C+ players would play with McDavid? And the reason is because Marner and all these guys that are high profile and very gifted players and stuff, everybody's talking about. These guys have been significant contribution to the success of the Leafs. Make no mistake about it. And every day they come to work. And that is also electric. And therefore, hey, listen, I'm glad Ray Ferreira wasn't my teacher. I would never got through university. He flunked me out. He'd give me all these bad grades and so forth. And I'm not trying to cut holes here. And because Ray, if you listen to Ray, he's got some real incisive things to say.
Oh, he's fantastic.
And he works at the game and so forth. But C+ rating. C+ rating. Are you kidding me for the contribution those guys make? And that's a contributing factor that these guys, and it says something about Babcock and his staff. You don't give out responsibility like that unless you believe in them. So now these players know that they got the coach's trust. They better not breach that trust. They better have that same commitment.
The Leafs have the second best power play in the league at 24.1% and the fourth best penalty kill at 85.2%. Brown has been doing it both. And Hyman, of course, has been a key penalty killer for the Leafs.
Oh.
Well,
he's got 2 shorthanded goals just lately and stuff like that. I mean, you know what I mean? How can Hey, now, but there's one factor nothing people aren't talking about.
Can I guess what you're going to say, Sherry? I think it's goaltending.
You got that. My theory about goaltending 75%. When you don't have it, it's 100. When you don't have it, it's 100. And so...
You always say, Sherry, you start from the back and work your way forward. Yeah. That's how you build a team.
I always used to talk about a reverse T with a dot. Goaltending, defense, center ice. Okay? And people are making stupid remarks about trading for a defenseman. You think all these other teams are stupid. You can't. It's very difficult to get a good top-flight defenseman. And Edmonton paid a price to get a really good defenseman. Okay? And so this business about dreaming up trades and stuff like that about what they can give up, nobody's giving up good defensemen. Take a look at those championship teams, who they had on their blue line when Chicago won, okay, when L.A. won. I mean, make no mistake about it, and everybody knows it in the game. They aren't stupid. And so Craig McTavish, who I think, I got this theory. Minion, I got to tell you, Minion, I got this theory, buddy. That here's my theory. I always ask the question, do I like who I am when I'm around you? And Craig McTavish, I really like who I am when I'm around him. And he made a remark. We were scouting in Lake Placid, some of the national teams that had players on there a few years ago, and he said, if you have to ask about your goaltending, you got a problem. So Toronto addressed that, gave up a first-round pick for this guy. And people that know hockey know the contribution he's made. And we all know about, about Connor McDavid in Edmonton. Edmonton didn't win a lottery. They won a jackpot. Because you talk about one of the best people you ever want to meet. Talk about loving who you are when you're around someone. I love who I am when I'm around. And I spend a lot of time with him. I love that kid. And as a person, I told everybody he's a better person than he is a player. We all know how good he is. And they're talking about Draisaitl. But what about that goaltender, Talbot? Been a key factor for their winning here. So isn't that funny? And as you pointed out to me, Minion, okay? Isn't that funny how these are common denominators about goaltending, how successful? Ask the LA Kings when they won. What was a big factor? If it wasn't goaltending. You can go on. There might be an exception here and there.
The Boston Bruins.
Yeah, Boston Bruins. And there's exceptions. But the rule is, because goaltending gives you a sense of confidence, the nature of the game, you're going to have breakdowns. It's human people. There's going to be mistakes made. And if you can recover from those mistakes by your goaltender making a big save, when you're ahead 2-1 instead of 2-2, it's 3-1. It's a total different emotion on the bench. Completely different emotion and feeling. And so it's a fact of life.
It's similar to the quarterback in football, is
100%.
it not?
100%. Goaltending, that's a good point, Minion.
If you go into a game not knowing which quarterback you should start or into a week, you've got some issues.
That's a good, Minion, you're getting smarter all the time. Unbelievable, Minion. And so the thing it is, goaltending is to hockey what a quarterback is to football. 100%. Really good point. And hey, here's another. Bob McKenzie, I was watching him, just did a poll. I always respect reporters and stuff that you talk about this will to prepare to win. Hockey isn't a unique science. It doesn't matter what profession. If you want to be good at what you add and you choose this as a profession, there's you have to have a will to prepare. You have to be able. So these guys do it. These reporters that I enjoy so much. Bob McKenzie has also been around since Confederation. Okay? And Bob McKenzie did a poll called 25 teams about who should be coach of the year. Okay? 15 of them for Tortorella. I think those were maybe 8 or 10 for Boudreau, that's the coach in Minnesota. What's the common denominator there, Minion? What's the common denominator there about those guys being talked about? What is it, Minion?
Well, the top 2 Vezina candidates is all.
Say hello to Grandma here. Say hello to Grandma. Goaltending. They both got outstanding goaltenders. And if they have an off game, they're running for cover. And we go right back to the Toronto Maple Leafs about the foresight that they had and said their scouts and everybody in their video said this, Anderson's a goalie. And the players love him. They play for him. That's another key factor about goaltending. About the team knows that this guy makes a key save. They play hard for him. And the secret is making the first shot, Minion. A lot of goals scored on the second shot, and they're clearing the puck. Make that first big save for us. And that's what's happening. And when you got good goaltending, I'll show you good coaches. But the secret is this. You have to have the talent first. Talent makes good. But the fact that you can mold it like Bobcat's doing, like what's being done with the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. Okay, Babcock. I was thinking of Bobcat, the announcer. Okay, Babcock, the way and his staff are molding this team under the guidance of those other people in management, we got a lot of good things to look forward to.
Sure, you mentioned that to have good goaltending, you need good talent in front of you. But what about Team Canada at the World Juniors? For as long as we can remember.
Well, it's a funny thing you say that. I don't want to condemn those 2 goaltenders. Remember I told you, Craig McTavish said if you have to ask. When you're going into the semifinals of a world championship and you're not sure which goalie to play, when you aren't convinced that this guy can lead you to the promised land, when the coaching staff isn't sure, you got an issue.
You got problems.
And that doesn't mean that Carter Hart and Ingram aren't good goalies. I'm talking about at that moment, what the confidence the coaches were going to try to put in the team and their goaltending. And I'm not talking about that as a failure either, because they lost in a shootout. I hope you bring that up, but that's another factor. When you got to ask and you're not convinced that this is the guy that you want to go with, you got an issue. You got an issue. And they weren't convinced. There was all kinds of talk. Who was going to play net today? When you're going into a championship, there is no question you should know who you're going with, who's the guy. And the coaching staff didn't. And that doesn't mean those two guys aren't great goaltenders. I'm talking at the moment you're going after a championship, because I don't want to condemn those two young goaltenders. Carter Hart had 3 shutouts in a row. And Ingram, he's a young guy yet. I'm told this guy's a phenomenal goaltender. But at the moment and at the time, in that 48-hour span, they didn't know who to play. And we just finished talking about what's so important. As you said, the quarterback in football. And then they go to a shootout. A shootout.
Canada really had the U.S. on their heels in that game. If it went for 5 more minutes, Canada probably would have won.
But Minion, the issue is this. It's not a question of who probably should have won, because Canada's won some games in shootouts too. Settling a championship with a shootout, and whether it's at the International Ice Hockey Federation, if they're influenced because of soccer, are you kidding me? A team sport, a team game, and we're settling world championships on a shootout? Did you say shootout, Minion? A shootout, which is individual skill against a goaltender versus a team commitment to winning and playing and being the better team and being able to say the best team won. And I'm not taking this away from the American team that won the World Junior. They won in the round robin. They won according to the rules of shootout. So I don't want to demean their championship.
But Sherry, let me ask you a question. A team that wins in overtime as opposed to a shootout, a team that maybe gets a lucky bounce in overtime, does that really determine who's that much better than, let's say, a shootout format? Because an argument that you can make is that if it goes to a shootout, maybe the more skilled team won. Maybe the team with the more skilled scorers won the game.
It's got nothing to do with skilled team in a shootout. It's got to do with individual skill. We're talking about team skill. And if they happen to get a fluky goal, we're talking about team skill and team talent and team coaching and all the factors that go into a winning team. And if Hockey Canada, and by the way, if Hockey Canada is going to be an influence, they got to find a way. Even if you have to go to 3-on-3 or something, we all want to see that. Speaking of Hockey Canada, they took a lot of heat. Okay? Big time heat on the games being in Montreal. This commitment was made years ago in Toronto and all these guys, and they kept their word. Okay, Tom Rennie, who's a really good, they kept their word. They couldn't just change this at the last moment. This is a position they took years ago, and they kept their word. I respect that. So. What are you telling me you're for a shootout?
No, I'm not for a shootout.
No.
I'm for overtime. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I need to challenge you once in a while. Get your blood boiling.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But hopefully they're going to do something about that. Hopefully that's my position on this goal. And that's another example. We've talked about goaltending. It's led us into all these particular issues.
We talked about World Junior, Sherry, and you have a friend that you want to introduce onto the show.
Oh, first of all, when we talk about World Junior, first of all, I want to talk about that. It's become an event. It's become an event at Christmas time. Okay? And so, the issue is it's such an event. I want to tell you this. You know who I want to talk about?
Who's Sher?
Well, you tell me, because I think you know, because you and I visited about that. Who do you think I want to talk about?
Our friend Wendell Clark?
Yeah. Wendel Clark. And let me tell you about Wendel Clark. And I'm excited about Wendel Clark because I just love him as a person, and I love what he's all about. And we're about to hear from Wendel Clark, as a matter of fact. We're going to talk to Wendel Clark, who scored the winning goal for us to win the first gold medal that we ever won in Europe. Good old Western guy, Minion. Western guy. As I say, good old Western guy, and who is, you know, when you talk about anytime anybody mentions Wendel Clark's name, and we're about to hear from him. Wendell, thanks for joining us today. You guys really travel a lot at Wilcox, didn't you, at Notre Dame?
Yeah, the midget schedule is kind of the same as the junior schedule because the AAA midget loop is the same as wherever there's a Tier 2 city. So, you know, if Yorkton's got a team, that's
Right.
Van, Weyburn, Regina, Bassin.
And highly competitive, too. It was highly competitive.
I would say it's the best midget loop in Canada, yeah.
Right. And so the thing is this, is that I came to watch you play when I was manager of the World Junior, the Saskatoon Blades, the old Saskatoon Blades. And I got a partial view seat behind one of those girders because the game was sold out. I had to turn around. You played like 30-some minutes a game, and you got like, the only time you got a rest was when you fought somebody. And I was so impressed about how that team followed you and so forth and what you were all about. And then when we picked you for World Junior, you were drafted first overall as a defenseman, and we moved you to left wing. And I'll never forget the meeting I had with you. Never forget it. When I went down to see you in your room and said, Clarky, how do you feel about playing left wing? Now, you're going to be the number one pick overall as a defenseman. And you said, Mr. Bassin, I just want to play on the team. You guys decide where I should play. Can you imagine today with the social media that I asked you again, said, hey, you're only going to see the power play and maybe on the second power play unit on defense, and you said, I'll carry water bottles. And I mean, can you think about, you've been in minor hockey, can you imagine telling somebody like that today?
No, it'd be a little different situation today with how many people are involved with every decision-making that goes on with a player at that level today.
No, I mean, it's unbelievable when you think about it. And then you scored the winning goal for us to win first gold medal, the very first gold medal that we've ever won in Europe. And you potted that goal. I think it was from Creighton, wasn't it? And Bradley?
I think I was on the ice with Creighton and Bradley, yes.
Yeah. And so anyway, and then you go on to such a illustrious career, and people loved you because what you're about as a person. I mean, I loved you as a person, and that's why I believe people are great players. Now tell me what you think about this. Now, what's your insight on the development of players compared to the way you developed?
Well, I think the developing is still a lot of the same, other than it's more individual now with the coaching at such a high level with different coaches to coach the kids. But really, it's the same as you just have to get on the ice and be on the ice a lot and skating and loving the game, and you will improve. It doesn't always have to be the perfect coach, the perfect skating coach, the perfect shooting coach. I don't think it always has to be that. We all didn't grow up with Scotty Bowman as our Kiwi coach, so it's not about always having the best, because sometimes that makes our game expensive. But it doesn't cost money to get on the ice, whether you're in a city or on a small community. You're either on outdoor rinks or outdoor pads that you can find to get on the ice and play and have fun. And the key is fun, no matter what level you're playing at. You have to be having fun, because it can't be called work. If it's called work, then the kids are going to give up on it anyway.
That's such a good point. You know, you grew up also skating on ponds, outside on ponds, on sloughs, didn't you? In Kelvington?
Yeah, no, in Kelvington we had no artificial ice, so I was in first or second year Bantam, so 13. I think at age 13 we got artificial ice in Kelvington. So before that, the indoor rinks weren't frozen till mid to late December.
Right.
And so you skated outdoors on the ponds and sloughs because that would freeze much before the inside of a rink floor would freeze. So we did a lot of our skating probably from the Halloween till December 10th was all skated outside on ponds.
Yeah, exactly. When I grew up, and one of the things that it's bugged me about is when people working on skills, skating, shooting, passing, handling a puck, and when kids get better doing that, they really have fun. And sometimes I concern myself that we don't spend enough time in minor hockey on that. And I don't know what's your take on that.
No, I think I think when I coached my son on the way up, the biggest thing that every practice was skill, tempo, scoring goals, stopping somebody from scoring goal. Everything had to do with more individual skill or skill as a line or a pair, so you learn to play with each other. And that was the big thing, is always coaching skills in practice. Practice ice is expensive in the cities especially, and so you practice, you kept them active, and then you did all your positional coaching and how you want the team to play the 20 minutes before you go on to play the game. So you're not wasting time sitting on one knee on the ice on a blackboard teaching systems. You can do that in a dressing room before the game starts,
right.
as part of your game prep. And then practice time is for working on the skills and compete drills, because the biggest thing that I think we're known for in Canada is competing. We're not always the best skilled team. We're not always the best looking team on the ice, if you're to watch some of the practices. But at the end of the day, we're playing at the end of the tournament because of our compete level. And I think that's the big thing with our skill development is competing with each other and battling, because every individual learns to get the job done differently. We're not all created with the same skill, whether you're a Gordie Howe, a Wayne Gretzky, a Bobby Orr, or a Sidney Crosby. All of them had different skill sets, but they all know how to compete with the skills that they were given to win that battle.
Well, what was good about you, and I guess this must have been from playing, but when you drove the net, you didn't have to take time to slap it. You could nail that wrist shot or that snap shot, and you must have worked a lot on that, because you could do it in stride, driving straight ahead, and I always respected that in you. When you came to play, you looked like you were having fun.
No, playing the game was always fun. I think the fun thing in practice is scoring goals. I always told kids it's not, because today it's tougher because you have highlights and everything, so they all want the fanciest goal. But I said if it goes in the net, it doesn't matter how. As long as it's in the net, that's the fun part. And shooting the puck with a wrist shot is what I did most of. It took less time to get away, and with technology today, actually, it should even be better for your quick release. You have such good technology in your hands that the stick has got more flex and jump on it, and it gives the goalie less time to read what's coming out.
Exactly, that's a big thing too.
Wendell, we spoke earlier about the Toronto Maple Leafs and some of their young guys like Brown and Hyman. I just want to ask you if there are any particular players that remind you of yourself, and for what reasons?
I don't know. I think a lot of the guys, you can mix a little bit of Matt Martin always leading the team in hits, and in our team right now is our third, fourth liner, and guys that can shoot the puck. Matthews can shoot a puck. He's got a great wrist shot. Uses it more than a slap shot, I think. So you combine those two guys, maybe much bigger, stronger. Matthews can skate. He's quick. He's got great hands for a big man. He almost looks like a little guy with the puck. He's got such good hands, but it's nice to watch the guys play with a lot of fun, energy, and talent on the ice.
Yeah, exactly what you did. Speaking of hitting, what was the name of that Russian in the World Tournament that you hit? Was it Tatarinov or can't remember?
I think it was Tatarinov. Did he end up playing in Washington, if I remember correctly? I can't remember.
But after you hit him, they came out with a box. They just carried the bones off. I mean, and it was a clean hit. Like, you went over his back like it was a 2-lane highway, and it was very, very clean hit. And, I mean, that's what... But I also remember the Czech guy you hit. Can't remember his name, and you nailed him before the blue line in a clean hit. Had his head down, and he only missed a shift or two and was right back on the ice. So, I mean, that's what... one of the things about you that you were a clean player too. You played it hard, and you also fought every tough guy there was. You weren't afraid to do it. It wasn't like you were a goofball, just that you made people responsible and you looked after your teammates. And all of us that remember you as a kid and coming up, that was very special. I thought the way you played the game and made it fun.
A true leader. And
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of leaders, the Leafs have so many good young players, and they obviously don't have a captain right now. So, Wendell, is there a particular player that you could envision getting to see next year? Because there just seems to be so many to choose from.
I don't see any one. I think it's something that they take time on. I think that's the route they've taken so far. The one thing with the C and some teams, and because you're in a big market, you want to market the game, so they put a letter on a young guy's sweater. Where in Toronto, we don't have to market the game. It's about finding the right guy, see how he handles all his situations, and really let our young guys grow up without being the true face of the team every day after practice and after games. Right now, they have a group of guys they go to because there is no C on anybody's sweater, and I think that's a good plan as the management watches which kids come to the forefront, because you're a first-year guy. We got 7 or 9 first-year guys. Next year's a different year from this year. This is your most fun year, your first year in the NHL, and you're handling things. And a bad day is not even a bad day. You're still so happy to be in the NHL. Where next year they're going to be dealing with a whole array of problems that they didn't see this year as rookies now. And then if you look at some of the other guys, Riley's been around. A good Western kid that's grown up. He's been there. He's seen it. Really level-headed, lots of skill, plays a lot of minutes, so he's in all the situations. So there's another fellow that's right there in the decision making. But I think the management's doing a good thing and just letting it play out and watching all the players.
And you know the other thing about them winning now, I always used to tell my players, winning is fun. Let's go have some fun. And so they're really enjoying that fact, you know what I mean, as opposed to what they've gone in the past. And you can really build on that, and you've lived those kind of experiences.
No, nothing beats winning. We play the game for that reason, and it grows, and it can be contagious when you win, and they can win as a group and win as a team, and learn what each other's roles are, and that's the big thing for our management is getting everybody to accept the roles that they have for the team to win. And then because they're all the same age and they're a young team starting together, this group, knock on wood, or hopefully can be together for 7 to 10 years, the same core group of guys.
Well, that's the key too, and I think the other factor is they all appear to be really good people too, you know what I mean, this good group of young people, and that was an attribute of yours. I'm a big believer when I was building hockey teams, like, have good people, and usually you guys that are very good players were all good people, and they appear to have a good group of good people there that even though they have the talent, I think that's a big factor.
No, I think they got a great group of kids. They all seem to respect each other. From watching I'm an insider, but an outsider watching them interact, and that's a good thing. Is you need great people, and they always solve every problem that comes within the dressing room as a group. It's not any one guy. There's no one guy can ever solve a problem. You need a strong contingent of a group in the dressing room, and they're building that within. You've got a couple of guys, and Mike and Lou, that have built a lot of great teams in their time, so they know what it takes, and they're in a lot of ways sheltering the young guys and teaching them at the same time. Because the best thing with learning under these guys right now is they're going to learn the game right, and whether they finish playing their career in Toronto or they play elsewhere, because they've learned the game right, they'll play a long time. No matter who they play under, they'll have had good structure from the guys they're playing under right now.
Good point. And that, I got to ask a personal question. Is your mom doing well?
My mom's doing great. Yep, she's out visiting right now and touring around watching me watch my son play hockey.
That's great because I remember your dad died prematurely about 9 or 10 years ago. One of great people they were, and I got a chance to spend time with them. And always remember that good old Western people. You know what it is, Clarky? You can take the boys out of the West, but you can't take the West out of the boys.
No, that's you always have a little something where you come from, and that's what all the guys do when they make their fortunate to make their NHL teams, and they all remember their backgrounds because they all have great communities they came from.
That's so great. Hey, listen, Clarky, I really appreciate you giving us some time. My respect for you. Never mind, everybody knows you as a player. I know you as a person, and I really appreciate that, and keep punching.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Wendell. Thank you for joining us.
I know.
All right. Thank you.
See you, buddy.
Take care.
Yep.
Well, you want to talk about all the great people? You know, when we talk about these players that were great, Jesse, they're all great people. This guy's small town values, just believed hard work. Hard work was the issue. And you can see that every time you meet a lot of these guys. The greats always had some kind of those basic values of what it takes. You know what I mean? Which goes back to something I've been telling you so that you can be, you want to, in the broadcast industry. People talk about the will to win. It's not the will to win. Everybody has a will to win. Some guy drinking a couple of beers sitting on his couch eating 3 bags of potato chips, and he's watching the Olympics, and he says, "Oh, I wish I was him." Yeah, you wish you were him. The preparation that goes in for those people to compete, it's the will to prepare to win. That's what it's about.
Well, if anyone knows anything about that, Sherry, it's you. You're a pharmacist, a lawyer, and a Memorial Cup champion. You don't hear that about too many people. So Wendel was a great NHL player, of course, but he was also a great junior player. And let's segue into junior hockey here and talk about this lawsuit, Sherry, that is happening in the CHL.
Wendel was also a great ambassador for the game.
Of course.
But he was a great junior. And speaking of junior hockey and stuff like that, in this lawsuit, I don't want to get into the particulars of the lawsuit because it's a lawsuit. But I am so bugged. I am so upset. It's bloody disgraceful that somehow there's been an implication by some people that people are initiating thoughts that these owners in hockey and Branch and his administration are mercenaries and living off the backs of these kids and don't treat them well and don't look after them. I heard somebody interviewed on the radio that they don't have enough money for a movie. That is so far from the truth. And I know these guys personally, and I'm so bloody upset about it. I'm so bloody upset about the implications of what this is all about. I know none of those. Rick Gates from Guelph and so forth that I've sat on the board with. The area, Jim Waters, if I did anything good for junior hockey, I sold the team to a phenomenal guy. He's in it for the right reasons. I know Dave Brown there that works for him. He's a personal friend of mine. I know Knobloch, the coach, who's one of the best coaches not in the NHL. Make no mistake about it, how he prepares. I know all the Kitchener Rangers and Minkowski and stuff like that, about how they treat the players. The London Knights, we know about the Hunters. You know what I mean? The Oshawa Rocco Tullio took over that team and it was in disarray, and the crowds and so forth. The North Bay Battalion, Scott Abbott, Trivial Pursuit. I served on the board with this guy. This guy wouldn't do anything that wasn't in the best interest of those players. He would never, ever not do anything. I can tell you that personally. Dr. Neville, who I know personally with the Peterborough Pates, it's players first. Make no mistake about that. And Dick Garber, who came into the league a number of years ago, was Saginaw and stuff like that, and his people. And Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, I know personally. Dr. LaKenda that owns that team is a major charitable guy. And Dr. Chinook, that's a governor and was on. These guys really do care. They care about people. They care about their community. You know what I mean? And it just bugs me. It bugs me that these people would have an implication, which is the furthest thing from the truth, that they're running a slave market. The Brandon Wheat Kings and Kelly McCrimmon, and I think he still owns it. I know the Calgary Hitmen with NHL and the Edmonton Oilers. Do you think not for a second they wouldn't be concerned for the best interest of the team? Kelowna Rockets, I know Bruce Ambleton personally. Okay, his dad was dean of the veterinary college in Saskatchewan, grew up in my hometown. He would never do anything that wouldn't be in the best interest of the players and make sure that they're properly looked after. Moose Jaw Warriors, I know the guys in the general manager at Portland. Red Deer, Brett Sutter, hard-working guy, farm guy, knows what it's right for, would never, ever do anything that wasn't in the best interest of the players. Regina Pats, I know John Paddock out there, just a phenomenal guy. And all those teams, the Thunderbirds, it is such a misrepresentation. It's disgraceful. It just bugs the hell out of me that there be some implication when in real facts, I'm telling you, Jesse, and you're getting new in this thing and about searching. And the commissioners. I mean, you talk about Dave Branch. This guy's destined for the Hockey Hall of Fame. Oh, yeah, without question. Dictator Dave. But no, don't, that sounds disrespectful. It's not. It's very respectful. I have deep respect for him because now with all what he's done and all the leadership he's shown, it's the Dave Branch way. And he's the one that established the players first. He's the one that brought that whole thing in. All these different things that they do. You know, Gilles Courteau, I know very well. Ron Robinson, I won a gold medal with, who's the commissioner in Western Hockey League or whatever they call the leadership guys. Everything that's done there is in the best interest. The initiatives, I'm talking about everything from, you name it, anti-bullying. Have you seen all the things that they've implemented in the last number of years? They were the first people on the scene for concussion. They got individual advisors that the kids can go to. I mean, it's endless. And I'm going to spend some time on that, as a matter of fact. I'm going to spend some time in another show about this Players First initiative that they brought in years ago. Make no mistake about it, Dave Branch is not going to introduce anything that is not in the best interest of those players. And for that implication, I mean, it's the Belichick way. It's the Dave Branch way. Okay? And he's been around enough that we should be following him. But I know, you know what I mean? And so when I say dictator, Dave, that's not meant disrespectfully. He's got a commitment to that. I'm the guy, I was chairman of the committee that hired him. I mean, he's been around since Confederation. Okay?
Kind of like yourself.
Yeah, and so and the point is, for this kind of an implication, and we're going to spend time on this show that's going to be weekly, and we're going to I'm going to get into the Players First program, because the initiatives, never mind the good coaching, never mind all the other factors they have about hockey. The scholarship program they have where all these kids are going to the CIS, but it's these other initiatives. The mental health issue. Do you realize that, talking about that mental health thing, they'd say 1 out of 5? I mean, in today's Let's Talk, I mean, to talk about being sensitive and understanding, that means 4 or 5 kids in the dressing room may have been affected in some manner. And are we ever concerned about that? And so when I hear what they're saying and the implications they're made, it's absolutely the furthest from the truth.
So, Sherry, let's say that it does go through, okay? Hearing reports that 80% of teams cannot afford to do this. Almost half the teams in the WHL and the OHL are losing money every year. What happens if this goes through? What's at stake?
Well, first of all, I mean, regulate and what they want to bring in here and so forth and the implement. If we were to lose a number of teams that lost their identity in small communities, where the fans are passionate about that team, where they're the Toronto Maple Leafs of their community. Look what happened when Belleville, now they're getting an American League team. Do you realize that when you're in this league, you're in the newspaper every day, a Canadian newspaper in the sport pages? Do we understand the impact that when people are making decisions here, the impact that could have? Plus less if a lot of these teams leave, there's less opportunities for the kids. You know, and it's not a question of going to the NHL. The fact is that over 50% of the players in the NHL come out of the CHL. We're not just talking about NHL players. A number of these players, I've got players that are orthopedic surgeons, oral surgeons, police officers, firemen, whatever. Some have gone back to run their family business, MBA guys. I mean, think about all these opportunities that these guys got. And to imply basically on an implication that they're not getting looked after properly, it just burns my craw.
I can hear that. It's a very honest opinion from Sherry Bassin. Sherry, you mentioned earlier Dave Branch going to the Hall of Fame, and you spoke earlier about a good friend of yours, Don Cherry, and you were making his case for the Hall of Fame as well. Can you please elaborate on that?
I love Don Cherry. I love his passion. This business about him being the suggestion and the implication that he, in fact, is wants physicality and wants people beat up and all that sort of stuff. And, I was in their company and was calling him a goofball and a goon, and I jumped right in, you know what I mean? It's what they say, how you defend the people behind his back, not what you say to his face. I was really upset. I was in a crowd of people at a rink because he's the biggest soft-hearted guy you've ever met. And he's an extremely charitable guy. He's a passionate Canadian. He's passionate about what the forces do, what our Army and Air Force and Navy and so forth do for us. You know what? They put it on the line so you and I can put on a show like this. So you and I can get on the air and talk. And it's because of those people. You know what I mean? And that's why when I see young people not committed on November 11th, it takes some time. On the 11th hour and the 11th minute of the 11th day, when you think about our history and the lives, they gave their life. And he's passionate about that. Now, how could you, and plus I used to see him all the time. He used to talk about it. I'd see him in minor hockey games regularly, not just pushing for TV. I'd see him there watching the kids play. And we'd sit down and visit, and he'd tell me about a guy, not necessarily a high-profile guy. 9 times out of 10, he was right about that player. 9 times out of 10. And so, I mean, I'm don't be mentioning Don Cherry in any negative way with me. And his insights.
Oh, never.
People, I know you wouldn't. And people love his insights. I can remember when I was with the Nordiques, and they would complain about what he'd have to say. When Coach's Corner came up, when we were playing at home in the press box, you could get run over for them running to the TV sets to see him and hear what he had to say. There were broken ankles and cut feet where people were running over each other. All the press guys. And as much as they would say, hey, they were contrary to what he was and didn't like him, that wasn't. Everybody loves to hear him. He says it the way it is. Whether you agree with him or not, that's not the issue.
And he's often right.
Yeah.
He's often so right.
And the thing about it is, and he's a special, when you get to know him as a person, he's for the underdog. He believes in accountability on the ice. These guys are going to take runs at some of our young talent, which is a concern for me too, because as a matter of fact, they've started a program in junior hockey, Respect in Sport. And so that we're not taking a run at guys. And we're not, you know what I mean? When McDavid and Liney, is it Laney or Liney?
It's Lion-A.
Line-A. When he got that puck in his feet and got just, because there's no respect, just run over. Okay, that's part of it. It's within the rules. I'm saying, and I know other people have been saying, if these guys are going to get pucks in their feet, let it go. Because you get down to look at that and somebody's looking for you. Because it's going to be on every highlight when you hit a guy like that. And now, we got specific rules about blindsiding guys. Branch was a big proponent of that. We got specific rules about it. You know what I mean? So that the protection of the individual. And nowadays with concussion and being so sensitive to concussion, which junior hockey is a big leader in the sensitivity to concussions. And so, and Don Cherry, think about it.
He's the face of Canadian hockey in a lot of ways.
And the people rushed to see him on TV. They rushed to see him. When's Coach's Corner coming on? Ron McLean, who's a heck of a guy, is the idea, which they found out when he was. This guy's when it comes to hosting, okay, and you should, and just listen to him and you find out again how well prepared Ron McLean is. But the way that he can intercept and deal with that personalities that he does, especially Don Cherry, and the preparation that goes, nobody wants to miss it. They're looking up. When I get tweeted about it because I'm not watching the game or somebody sends me something on it, I'm paying attention to it. I want to see it. And so, to me, about all these guys that are saying these things that, I have deep respect because I know Don Cherry as a person. We got to get Don Cherry on, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely.
One time.
Love his insights. All right, Sherry, we need to wrap things up right now, but before we end the show, I want to hear your early Super Bowl pick.
Early Super Bowl pick? Well, I'm a big time fan of the Patriots because it's the Belichick way. They just gave up. What's the name of the linebacker that they traded to Cleveland for a fourth round
Jamie
pick?
Collins.
I've heard statement. We're going to spend a lot of time on this next week.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for Socks Optional today. I need to get a pair of socks on because my feet are starting to stink. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.